Hello and welcome to our Genesis Women's Shelter and Support Client Services webinar. My name's Amber Neely. I'm the Assistant Clinical Director here at Genesis, and I'm here with Charlotte Weatherford.
Good morning, everyone.
And Jordan Gates, who are both women and children's therapists here at Genesis. So before we jump into our presentation, I just want to go over some housekeeping stuff. Reminder that this presentation is for educational purposes only. So as we're talking about these situations and potentially giving some strategies, please consider your own situation and safety concerns before putting into practice any of the ideas that we talk about today. So with regards to safety, please make sure you're watching this webinar in a safe place where only safe people can hear it. Remember to clear your browser history after watching the video if you think that somebody monitors your phone or computers. It's also helpful to use headphones if you think somebody might be trying to listen to what you're listening to. And if you're watching with us live on Zoom, please remember that if you have to leave abruptly, to click to leave meeting, and then you'll have to also X out of the Zoom website again. Regarding confidentiality, again, if you're watching live with us on Zoom, please do not use the chat feature on Zoom. If you use that chat feature, your name and comment will be seen by anybody watching the video. And this video recording does get posted to our YouTube channel. So if you're watching from our YouTube channel, again, same thing, please do not comment or leave your name or anything there because that will be seen by anybody watching the video. If you're needing crisis support, or if you're having questions about what we're talking about, or need help with safety planning or emergency shelter due to domestic violence, you can call our 24-hour hotline at 214-946-4357. If you're not currently receiving counseling with us, please give us a call at 214-389-7700, and we can talk that through with you. Again, if you have any questions about anything that we covered today, we're going to leave our contact information at the end of this webinar, so you'll be able to contact me, Jordan, or Charlotte directly. Again, we don't monitor any comments or questions left on our YouTube channel, so if you have a question, please reach out to us directly. We wanted to also share these hotlines, so I'll give you a minute to take a picture of that or write these down. So again, here's our hotline. There's also the National Domestic Violence Hotline. So maybe if you're watching and you're not in the Dallas area, this hotline can be really helpful and provide you with resources regarding domestic violence shelter, counseling, and other resources like that. Also the National Suicide Hotline. We know that when families are experiencing domestic violence and we experience trauma, that sometimes there's feelings of hopelessness or even suicidal thoughts. So please know that we are here to help you with that. You can call our hotline or you can call the National Suicide Hotline for support if you're having any sort of thoughts like that. Okay, I'm gonna let Charlotte take over.
Hey everyone, so we're going to be continuing with our series on Lundy Bancroft's book, When Dad Hurts Mom. So our next portion is going to be about supporting children when they do have an abusive parent. This is a picture of the book. It's a really great book we teach from often. It can help you understand excuse me, all of the effects of domestic violence. It can help your children heal emotionally and kind of help guide you as to what you can do to help your children heal, and how you can provide your children with love, support, and positive role models, even if you're still in the midst of the domestic abuse. An increased understanding of court systems and how you can be successful in custody cases, and helping children feel good about themselves. So the impact of domestic violence. This book is helpful in gaining understanding of how children's exposure to a man's domestic abuse and abuse towards their mother sends shockwaves through the whole family. It kind of creates a ripple effect. And domestic violence we define as including threats, verbal abuse. This might be humiliating behaviors, an atmosphere where mom is being disrespected by dad, being undermined by dad. Maybe she doesn't have a voice, she's being silenced in the home or treated like a servant. This can bring distress to children, being around this disrespect and seeing mom being abused in this way. And it can foster tense relationships between mother and child. and it can create divisions amongst siblings. So it really can create a ripple effect throughout the family. And so we want to talk about ways that you can help them heal and survive in this. Jordan's going to teach us a little bit more about these parenting styles.
Hey, everybody. And so when we talk about how an abusive parent's behaviors can affect the children, it is important to understand how what parenting style an abusive parent is using. And also this knowledge can help you gain insight into the different parenting styles maybe that you tend to use. So Lundy talks about 4 different types of parenting styles. The authoritative, the first one that has active next to it, let's talk about it. So this is a really supportive parenting style, right? It's when your child knows that you get to make the rules, you get to set the boundaries, but also it's a parent who's supportive and understanding and wants to listen to their child, gain understanding about why their child is acting out or doing what they're doing, and providing that needed support to them. And so kind of to sum that up, it's that you are an authority figure, but also you're really supportive, nurturing, and loving, kind of all at the same time. And to the right of that, the authoritarian. So because I said so. So a lot of times abusive parents, abusive fathers tend to be this one, right? And so they set all the rules. It's their way. They're not going to understand why their child is doing something the way they're doing, and they're not going to compromise with their child. So it's their way all the time, or you're in trouble. Oh no, sorry, my internet is acting funky over here. So I'm gonna squint my eyes because I have to look closely at the small screen on my phone. Because I said so, right? And so this creates a lot of fear in the child. The child is scared of you. The child is scared to get in trouble. And so they kind of always feel like they're walking on eggshells. Then the permissive. So it says you're in charge underneath. So the permissive, oftentimes maybe you want to be your child's best friend. So everything goes, you're not going to get in, your child's not going to get in trouble. Maybe you don't have a high expectations for your child. And so they're not getting praised when they do things well, but also when they're messing up, they're not getting in trouble. And so they don't really know what behaviors are okay and what ones aren't. And so they kind of get away with a lot of things. And then to the right of that, the uninvolved and neglectful. So this is when you're on your own, the parent is not involved at all. So a lot of times abusive parents may take on this role. So especially if the parents are separated, right? They don't show up to visits, they don't hang out with their children, they don't show up to their child's soccer game, they don't know how their child is doing in school. And so it can be neglectful. And if they're in the same household, the dad absolutely can still be uninvolved, right? And so they're just not paying attention to their child, not involved in their lives, and not taking care of their child, right? And so if that child is really young too, a lot of their needs could not be being met. Your child's asking for food, your child's asking to go to the bathroom, they're late to doctor's appointments or school or daycare, whatever it is, because that child is not in tune with, that parent is not in tune with their child or involved at all in their life. And so the expectations for that one for your child would be really low as well. So I'm going to pass that to Charlotte.
Yeah, so just to kind of continue on some of these different types of parents and abusive parents. So there might be the under-involved permissive parent, kind of like Jordan was saying. This might be the parent that comes, he's like, I've worked hard all day, so when I get home, it's time for me to rest and relax. So he's just not involved in the childcare responsibilities and not realizing that being a parent is a 24-hour job, not something that you can just clock out of. A lack of concept of what it really takes to run a household. So this might seem like, oh, I know that she's just watching TV throughout the day. I know that she's not really working that hard, not considering how much work it takes to really manage a household, keep the clothes clean and the dishes and the cooking and all of those other responsibilities, and really minimizing that workload. An unavailable and under-involved father sometimes increases their value in the children's eyes. So maybe they're really longing for that relationship and he doesn't give them a lot of attention. And so when he does, and when he does show them this kindness and this affection, it makes them feel so grateful for that they crave it more. They really want that connection with dad. Identity control. So when an abuser wants his partner to be just like him, even his kids. So they're even controlling their identity. They're controlling their interests, maybe. This is maybe their extracurricular activities, or people that they want to be friends with, or maybe even just anything that they're interested at home, or types of food that they like. It could be anything that they're trying to control. Children in this environment work hard to be like dad, and they feel suffocated by him at the same time. They're trying so hard to meet these expectations and to feel like you have dad's approval, and maybe it feels like you're never truly getting there. So undermining mom, this can be directly or indirectly. So this could be, maybe mom sets a rule and dad completely undermines that rule right in front of the parent, in front of the children. Or maybe this is something where it's silent. He doesn't have to directly say that. It's just kind of known that whatever dad says is going to stick, and it's going to kind of overpower anything that mom says. Abuse undermines a woman's paternal nature. And it's also children learn from the abusive father that it's okay to disrespect their mother. So in this way, they're seeing that mom is continually being disrespected. And so they start to learn that that behavior is okay. It's okay to disrespect mom. It's okay to talk back. It's okay to ignore the rules or ignore what rules mom have set in place for you.
And I think just adding on to this undermining too, you may want to parent your child in a certain way, and you know that if you do that, then there's going to be consequences for you. So just being in this relationship really can put a mom in a position where she doesn't get to nurture her child the way that she wants to. Maybe he's asking for all of the attention and he doesn't want you to hold the baby or for the kids to sleep with you guys or whatever the case may be. And so just knowing that this isn't something that intentionally happens, but because of the abuse happening in the home, it happens where the mom is unable to parent the way that she really wants to.
Thank you, Amber. That's a good point. And neglect and irresponsibility. So maybe this is really self-centered behavior. Maybe he's coming home from work and he's just not paying any attention to the kids. Maybe this is disrespect, like he's just not taking the children seriously, whether it's something that they're really afraid of. Maybe that they're having really bad nightmares and dad is not taking that seriously and he's being really minimizing about that. Arrogance, he's always right. So whatever his opinion is, whatever his view of how the parenting needs to take place, that's what's going to happen. He knows that he's always right. And manipulativeness, he wants to win the children over to his side. So that can be kind of like being the Disneyland dad, where all of a sudden you come in and you're bringing the toys and you're taking them to their favorite park and you're doing all of their favorite things to try to manipulate the children to be on your side as opposed to mom's side, if mom is maybe providing a little bit more structure and setting those limits and being consistent with those. So the effects of his parenting on mom. Jordan, I think you were going to take this one.
Yes. Hi again. So we're going to talk about how his parenting style, his behaviors affect now the mom and her ability to parent. And I want to piggyback off of what Amber was saying, to recognize if you have insight on how it's affecting you, and are aware of that can help you through your healing process, but also remembering your safety and your children's safety first. So maybe you recognize that that his behaviors and his parenting is affecting you, but at that time you can't do anything about it because you have to make decisions to keep you and your family safe. And so that's really important to consider both. And so we're going to talk about, again, how his parenting can affect you. So his parenting can cause a lot of conflicting feelings for you and for your children. So maybe sometimes he compliments your parenting, maybe sometimes he tears down your parenting, and he's creating a lot of confusion for your kids, right? And so sometimes dad's really nice, and then sometimes dad's really scary. And so just validating that for your kids, it's okay and normal for them to have many feelings about dad. That next one, post-separation use of children as weapons. So this is really, really common, and we could probably think of 100 different ways that he uses your children against you as weapons since divorce or separation or since you moved into different households. So these are just a few examples, but oftentimes dad can turn the children against mom. And so when they're at dad's house, he's blaming you for everything, or he's saying mom's no fun and mom's no strict and mom can't afford to buy you anything or whatever it is. So then the children come back to you and they're mean to you or they're rude to you, or they start mimicking some of dad's words, which can be hurtful. Oftentimes dad, right, there's still that financial abuse aspect. So maybe they don't pay child support at all, or they pay it late, and they can be really intentional about it. So if it's due on the first of every month and he knows that rent's due within the first 3 days of rent, he's going to wait till that 4th day. So then you get a late fee. And so this can be really, really challenging and be a big impact. And threatens to kidnap the children. So this is a big one, right? So maybe he threatens to take the children, or he takes the children and doesn't bring them back from their visits on time, or he says, I'm not going to return them. And so then you're stuck in this really conflicting, scary situation where you don't know if you want to give him the kids, or you're scared to take your children to daycare or school because you're afraid he could show up. And so that's important to do a lot of reach out to a counselor, advocate, and do some safety planning and know your legal rights around that. Another one, threatening CPS reports, right? He can threaten to make up things, threaten to turn your parenting against you, and threaten to call Child Protective Services, which of course can be really stressful for the mom. Another one is undermining her parenting and authority. Right? So when he was emotionally and verbally abusive to you in front of the children, or still is, he's saying, I'm not going to respect mom. The way she parents is not good enough. She can't cook dinner good enough. She can't do anything right. And so when the kids are seeing him undermine you, maybe the kids start undermining you. So they don't follow your rules, or they laugh at you when they tell you to do something, or you tell them to go to bed and it's bedtime and they give you a really hard, difficult time. Also, moms can be triggered by their own children's actions or words. And so again, right, maybe if your child makes a face that reminds you just like your ex-partner, or maybe the child gets really, really angry and that reminds you of times that your ex-partner got angry, or they say something, right, that they learned from dad. And so they go and then they say it to you. And of course that can be a big trigger. And so being really aware of that, but also being really kind to yourself in those moments and not to feel guilty if it brings on triggers. Difficult behaviors in mom's care, right? So the child goes to dad's house, there's no structure, there's no routine, there's no rules. It's all fun and games. And then the child comes back to your house and you make your child do homework and you make your child go to bed and get back on that routine, which can be really hard and dysregulating for kids at times. Transitions from dad's care can be difficult. I just talked about that, especially with limit setting and boundaries. And then last, that parallel parenting versus co-parenting, right? So co-parenting is when you have the ability to work with your ex-partner. You guys establish the same rules, the same boundaries, you support each other. Can you take the child to the doctors? You know, I have to be at this meeting, etc. And so that is nearly impossible with an ex-abusive partner, right? Because they still want the authority. They're still going to use your children against you. Abusive partners don't or will not compromise with you, and they're not going to respect your boundaries. And so what that leads to you is having to parallel parenting, which means you do the best you can when the kids are in your care. And when they're with dads, you know that you can't count on dad to be respectful of that parenting style that you had. And so that's really difficult and hard to accept and cope with. I'm going to turn it over to Amber to close this out.
Great, thanks, Jordan. So just a couple points to remember that Lundy points out in this book. You know, the profile of a man who abuses women includes characteristics that tend to lead to weaknesses in how he treats children and how he treats you as a mother. Responsible fathers do not abuse or dominate mothers. It's also important to note that it is common for men that abuse their partners to abuse their children as well. The abuse might look different, but it definitely is very probable to happen. You are capable of finding ways to keep your children safe and support them in healing from the scary experiences that they've had. You know, having this history and having this abusive person as their father doesn't mean that they're broken or that now there's no hope, right? You still are able to find ways to keep them safe and support them, and doing that by reaching out to us and letting us be a part of that support system for you, or reaching out to the national hotline if you're not here locally, and letting us help you safety plan with your children and come up with ways to cope, to help your children cope with what's going on. Okay, so what can you do? So it's going to be important for you to work through the acceptance and understanding that how your partner is treating you is not right, and that you don't deserve to be abused. And this is a process that does take your time, some time, and that can be worked out through therapy. Believe your children. You know, if you're seeing them having some different behaviors, or they're acting out, or something's changing in them, trust them and believe in them if they're telling you they're scared or something's wrong. Help your children feel emotionally safe when they're with you, as much as possible. So that might just be you telling them that you love them and that with you, they're safe. Hugging them, spending special time with them, things like that. Use other resources. You know, sometimes it's hard to reach out for help. You know, Lundy talks about how this might look like calling the police or CPS. That's not always a safe option for every family, right? And so also looking into your faith community, look into what social services agencies are out there, what therapy groups are available for you, or support groups, looking into your child's school system and what supports does the school have already in place for families. And remember that you're strong, right? Think about what strengths you already have as a parent and build on those. And do not let him tell you that you're not good enough, because you are. And remember to get support for yourself. Again, therapy, community support, looking at the faith community. This is hard on you, so remembering to take care of yourself in this. I want to end with this quote: do not believe what your partner may tell you about you being how bad of a parent you are. If he knew so well what was good for your children, he wouldn't be abusing you. So remember, you are a good parent. You're here reaching out for help, watching this webinar, and trying to learn different ways to support your child. Thank you so much for being here. Um, Please call me or Jordan or Charlotte if you have any questions at all about the topics that we're covering today. I know that this is kind of a heavy one, so please make sure to take care of yourself and call us if you need any support. Thanks, guys.